Well, why don't you just want to be like as strong as Superman or something?
If you were to high-five somebody, their arm would be a bag of rubble.
Sock 'em boppers, sock 'em boppers. More
commercial.
fun, man.
That's
a pillow
another
fight.
thing in 90s. Welcome back to Cut No Corners. I'm Corbin.
I'm Joe.
And if you joined us last time, we talked about the highs and lows of 2020. This episode, we are going to be discussing what it is like to be a 90s kid. So, if you're born in between 90 and 95, that's pretty much what we're talking about. You've probably seen in memes people discussing, like, oh, I'm a 90s baby, blah, 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 this or that, or discussing how the experiences are different from being a 2000s kid. Here, we're just going to talk about our experiences and, growing up into the early 2000s, the differences between then and now.
And again, as always, we're going to play a game in the background.
Today, we are doing Rocket League, which you're about to lose one. Ah! All right.
Wait, is that not our goal? What goal are we going at? What color are we?
I guess we're red.
Okay, now that we got that solved.
So yeah, I was born in 90, so I'm going to be 30 this year.
I was born in 91, so I just turned 28.
So we have a pretty decent grasp of the 90s in general. So kicking things off, Joe, what's one thing you remember about the 90s?
The biggest thing I remember is how good the cartoons were when we were growing up. Cartoons, the shows, all of them. I remember shows like Hey Arnold. I watched it every morning before school.
Stoop kid never leaves the stoop.
And the game shows they had that were targeted for kids. Legends of the Hidden Temple. Double Dare. Oh, they were so good.
And they had sketch comedy shows like All That and Keenan and Kel. Who loves orange soda?
Kel loves orange soda.
That's such a good show. Doug. Rocko's Modern Life.
I mean, we could be looking at it in the rose-tinted glasses, but I don't think any current cartoons or television shows that are targeted for kids even come close.
No, I mean, growing up as a 90s kid, you could even count SpongeBob in this, because we grew up before SpongeBob was ever a thing. It's tough for kids today to even picture that, especially with the amount of memes that he's used in. But there was a time when there was only 5 episodes of SpongeBob out, and you would see...
I remember the first ever episode. I remember them...
Animation was so janky.
Yes. Talking about this new show on Nick, gonna premiere next week, SpongeBob. I was like, I don't know what that is, but I'll watch.
Remember Rugrats?
Yes. Chucky, Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy Pickles. Rugrats in general was the biggest show on television for kids. I mean, there was merchandising up the wazoo for that show. I mean, bed sheets, lunch boxes, t-shirts. There still is today. Reptar? There's probably kids today have no idea what Reptar is from. They just recognize it. Oh, is that Godzilla or something? No!
So these shows don't compare. I mean, you can talk about shows that are targeted for kids these days. You got your Paw Patrols, your Peppa Pigs, or Massive Sensations, but
not the same.
I have kids, and those shows are unbearable to a point.
The old shows are superior, yeah.
I think that the old shows had that proper balance between kid material and humor that adults would understand.
Right, like how classic Pixar did it. Like, it's for the family to enjoy.
Yes, exactly.
Plenty to go over the heads of the kids, and it's just for the parents.
I remember waking up on Saturday morning and having your lineup of shows, your Pokemon, your Yu-Gi-Oh!
Rocket Power?
The Jackie Chan show.
The Jackie Chan show is so good. Hiya!
This is the peak of Nickelodeon when it had the splat symbol. Now it just says the word Nickelodeon.
I mean, there was also Cartoon Network. Ed, Ed, and Eddie. Angry Beavers.
We could go on and on about this.
Yeah, we could have an entire episode just on old TV shows.
We will likely do it. We have to end this to get on to future topics or other topics we want to talk about.
Yeah, the 90s.
But
the
just
90s.
know that shows in the 90s were far superior.
They were far superior to what you know today.
What's the topic you want to bring up, Corbin?
I remember, just in general, because it was pre-cell phones. I mean, if that's even something people can picture anymore. Like, as a kid, you were outside all the time. Like, when you went over to hang out with a friend's house, I mean, first of all, you had to call on a landline if you even called. Most of the time, you just showed up and knew that they were home, because what else are kids gonna do? You just showed up at your friend's house, say, hey, wanna play? And then you go play some random sport or climb a tree, or you just hung out outside way more than you do today.
And the trust you had to have in your friends when you made the plans to do this stuff, if you made plans at all. There's no cell phones to text somebody and say, hey, I'm gonna be there at 2, I'm leaving my house now, hey, I'm here. It was just, hey, tomorrow you wanna go play basketball, and you just showed up, and they were there.
Yeah, there was no backing out of plans, because you didn't even want to back out of plans.
With your cell phone now, you have to constantly check in. It allows people to back out of plans almost up into the plan itself starts.
Yeah, because all you gotta do is send a text today and boom, you're out of any sort of plans. Yeah, just in general, the trust was there, the playing outside, the rise of video games. We're playing video games as we speak right now. The rise of video games was insane. I mean, yes, there is a generation older than us who was like, I remember, you know, Ms. Pac-Man and Pong and it's like yes, we played those too. They were around. It's just we also saw the rise of things like Mario Kart. I mean, first-person shooters before that was a thing. I mean, yes, there were games like Doom. I did later play on PC, but there were things like GoldenEye.
And do you remember how amazing we thought the graphics were?
Yes.
I remember every game I got, I was like, oh my god, graphics cannot get better than this.
Yeah, like, how are you supposed to top this?
And as you're watching, we're playing a game where we play soccer in flying cars.
Yeah, and crystal HD, 3-dimensional, over the internet.
If you've never seen playthrough of GoldenEye, it looks like trash.
I remember playing as Jaws, the guy with the metal teeth. He was like super tall, he was like a 7-foot actor or whatever, or 6'10", whatever he was. And I was like, I'm gonna play as him because he's a tough character to play as. He's hardcore. It didn't matter. You got this stationary gun just held out in front of you with like no weapon sway. You're running at 30 miles an hour.
Do you remember how games back in the day you couldn't look up? We didn't have access to the internet like we do now, right? You don't have your cell phone constantly in the palm of your hand. You have the entire human existence brain in the palm of your hand. You look at anything right now. We didn't have that back then. You couldn't look up how to get past mission 2.
Yeah.
If you were stuck, you had to either wait till you went to school the next day to go, hey man, how did you beat mission 2? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Or you had to find this crazy thing I'm going to talk about. Strategy guide.
There were books you had to buy.
Separate from the game, you'd buy this $15 strategy book and it would tell you everything.
Like they had that. I had to buy one of those for each Pokemon game I bought. We were there for not only the rise of the Pokemon video games as you know it today, like Red and Blue were the first. We were there for that. We were there before that. Pokemon, the phenomenon that it is today, as a kid, it was our world. It was everybody's world. There was nobody who didn't like Pokemon.
Everybody had Pokemon cards. You could go on the bus and be like, what'd you open yesterday?
My first card I still remember was a Charmander. My second card I got was a Machop. If you had a holographic Charizard, I don't even know if there's a comparison today. There's no higher honor in society. That was huge. Another video game that was massive was Tony Hawk Pro Skater. For whatever reason, the 90s was obsessed with skating and just sports like that in general, like snowboarding, rollerblading.
Back in the day, we referred to them as extreme sports.
Yeah, they were.
X Games.
Yes.
Oh, Tony Hawk. First man ever to do a 900. Where whatever year this is that you're watching, a 900 every skater can do.
Right, but they invented all these moves when we were growing up. That was all brand new, and we were living through the rise of it.
They made these video games where you would play as a skateboarder, and they were, I'm not gonna lie, the Tony Hawk games were some of my favorite PlayStation 1 and 2 games that I ever played.
The physics were a bit wonky, but it is what it is.
We play a game where we're flying cars hitting a soccer ball. Yeah, the physics were a bit wonky.
I mean, you would jump or take a ramp with your skateboard, go 40 feet into the air, do 19 spins, kickflip, whatever, and above your head, stand on your hands, and then land diagonally, and your character would just kind of wobble, and then turn into a grind going horizontally now. Total change in momentum.
They actually just remade Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 for the PlayStation 4.
There were some toys that they were just bigger in the 90s for some reason, like squirt guns. If you knew a kid with like that big, the Super Soaker, where you pump that sucker like 20 times.
20 was not the recommended. The box said do not pump it more than 4 times.
you know, you got to keep going until it just physically will not go anymore. You need to turn that thing into a water cutter that can slice metal, and you just shoot it at your friends' faces.
From your friend's face.
In the back of their head or something. That is what you did.
The 90s.
You just didn't care as much about getting hurt or playing outside. Or the Skip It toy, I remember, where it's basically this giant weighted ball on the end of a plastic stick that you attach to your ankle, and you just swing it around one leg, hoping to jump over it with your other leg and not destroy your ankle. Moon shoes was another big toy that people definitely probably got sued over. You know, trampolines, you can picture trampoline, right? Make them sneakers, somebody thought. Make trampoline sneakers. And
put one trampoline on each foot and let the kids run around.
you could realistically only jump maybe another 2 inches taller than you could normally, seeing as how these moon shoes weighed 10 pounds a shoe.
But let me tell you, the moon shoes were like the #1 thing given away. Remember, Legends of the Hidden Temple, Double Dare, they always gave prizes away to these kids. They were the
Moon
coolest
shoes.
thing ever. Moon shoes were always on there. And you would see them give these prizes away, they'd be like, you win this game, you'll get moon shoes. And you'd be like,
Oh my god!
I want some moon shoes. Ma, can I get some moon shoes?
Oh, another one I just thought of is those the Rock'em Sock'em, like, balloon fist. It's like, hey, we know your kids are violent monsters. Let's at least make it a little safer for them.
They're like boxing gloves, but you blow them up with air. And you punch each other with them.
Yeah, full send, 100% strength. Don't care if your older sibling weighs 60 pounds more than their younger siblings. They're going to throw their fist. like they got superpowers.
Sock'em boppers. I'm sorry.
Rock'em Sock'em boppers, yeah. Sock'em.
Sock'em boppers.
Yeah.
Sock'em boppers.
The commercials.
More fun, man.
That's another thing the 90s had. Yes!
Oh, I remember
More
that.
fun than a pillow fight. The commercials in the 90s, they were all about brainwashing, like consumerism.
They had amazing jingles.
Yeah, they had the best jingles that stuck in your head that, yeah, just like that one. He just pulled that out of your butt from 20 years later.
Yeah, exactly.
And as soon as you said it, it just pulled it out of my subconscious, and I remembered it. The commercials back then, which you could not skip like today. I mean, the only commercials we get today are ones where you actually have a skip button in the YouTube corner, or like Hulu commercials where people pay for premium to get rid of it, or people just DVR stuff now if you got cable still.
Yeah, there was no DVR. Commercials were just a thing you had to deal with, and they were the most stressful thing you had to deal with, especially if you were watching your favorite show and you had to go to the bathroom.
The only way, exactly, yeah, if you had to pee, the commercial was your only saving grace. That was it.
And you had to pee and get back before the commercial ended.
Yeah, you
So
basically...
the second that commercial, you're doing the pee-pee dance, the second the commercial comes on, you're tearing doors open, running down halls, jumping over couches, trying to find the bathroom.
It was a team effort, basically, because one person had to stay and watch the TV to let you know that it was coming back on if you couldn't hear it.
The worst sounds you could hear when you were a kid.
It's
you were
on.
in the bathroom taking a pee. It's on!
Like,
you
if
had to
midstream, it's on! Crap!
just pinch that off and run on back.
Try not to stub your toe more than 6 times as you're pole vaulting over the back of sofas.
Because the other thing is, it's not like today where either you could pause or watch it again. If you missed it today, it won't be on again for 3 weeks.
Yeah, you don't know if you will ever see that episode again. Like that, you don't know. And if
You
your
don't
friends
know
saw
what's
it,
on.
you can't talk to them about it. You missed it.
The best you had was your parents would have to purchase this thing at the beginning of every week. It would say, what's going to be on for the week? Or you had this channel. Ours was channel 2.
Channel
It was
2.
just a scroll of all that's going to be on. You could only see an hour and a half, and it would tell you what show
There was
gonna be on.
98 channels.
And it scrolled at the pace of a snail.
But-
and if you were like me, as a kid in the 90s, I looked away for 3 seconds.
You gotta wait for the whole thing to scroll back again.
And you know how Corbin and I just rattled off channels? You don't even know those anymore. When you watch it on Hulu, you just go to Nick. They're still
Yeah.
networks, but they're just named networks. Back in our day when we referred to a channel, I want to watch channel 32. I just knew that was Discovery.
Yeah, Discovery. Oh my god. We could have a whole separate episode on Discovery Channel and how that was amazing back then. Mythbusters, Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe, Shark Week. So much of our scientific interest and knowledge comes from like Mythbusters. But if you wanted to hear good music or any music, you'd have to either pay for a cassette tape or a CD, or if you wanted to risk getting herpes for your computer, which by the way was super slow, and the only computer for the house, you had to risk it with LimeWire.
And you had to go to LimeWire on AOL. So you kids today, you click your little internet app and it just opened. Yeah, it didn't work like that back in the 90s.
No.
You'd click on America Online, and then you'd get this ear virus of a noise that would start playing. And you know what that did? It made it so no one else in the house could use the phone.
It was an either-or scenario.
So you'd go to AOL, and it would take 5 to 10 minutes of that noise that Corbin just made to load into the actual internet. And then you'd click on a page and it'd be 5 more minutes to actually load. And you'd want to download a song from LimeWire, and one song took upwards of an hour.
It might be the song that it's actually titled as.
You'd be like, man, I really want Hit Me Baby One More Time by Britney Spears. So you'd download the song, and you'd finally get it downloaded, and you'd start it, and nobody had consistent audio. So either it was super loud, super quiet, or it sounded like somebody had recorded it through a trash bag.
So yeah, that's our take on the 90s, or at least the broad strokes anyway. Let us know what we missed, what you remember, or if you're one of those people in the comments section I've seen on other pages where you were born after 2000, you're like, 90s babies experience wasn't that different from 2000s babies. Alright, put your money where your mouth is. Tell us why.
What was better about you growing up in the 2000s that was better than what we just talked about in the 90s?
Yeah, so like, comment, subscribe, stay in touch. We'll be coming out with new videos, probably 2 weekly.
We'll be here making content as long as there's somebody to watch.
Yeah.
So come back and join us for these fun conversations.
Doug. So we'll see you next week, and we're going to have a new game lined up to play. We're going to keep it fresh every week.
So for Cutting No Corners, I'm Joe.
And I'm Corbin.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.